Hi folks, this is Vicki at patternprincess.com. Today I wanted to show you how to do this really beautiful stitch. It's called the Trinity Stitch. And it's really kind of like doing a single crochet 3 together. It has a lovely texture. And I'm just going to try and move this around so you can see the nice texture that's achieved. And it's a very simple stitch. And this is just a little swatch that I've used here with Caron Simply Soft yarn. And I used my numbers written is wore off here on the bottom, but I think it was a size J hook. And so I've done a beginning chain stitches here of 16. It needs to be a even stitch count. So depending on how wide you want your project to be, just make sure that it's multiples of 2, which is an even stitch count. Okay, so let's get started here. In the second, I just pulled this one tight, hang on. Let me get this bigger again, here we go. So in the second loop, not this one, but this one, the second loop from the hook, insert your hook and work a single crochet. Okay, and then in that same stitch, go ahead and insert your hook, yarn over, pull it through, and then go to the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over, pull it through, and we're going to do this one more time. In the next stitch, insert your hook, pull the yarn through. You now have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and bring your yarn through all 4 loops on the hook, and then you're going to yarn over and bring your yarn through that loop, and that finishes off this stitch. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next stitch. So we're going to insert our hook right in the same stitch that you just ended in. And it's kind of a bigger loop, you can tell. So you're going to put your hook in, yarn over, bring the yarn through, go to the next stitch, bring our yarn through, and in the next stitch. And then we now have our 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over, go through all 4, yarn over, and one more time. Okay, so we're going to repeat this pattern. So we go to the first stitch, yarn over, bring it through. The next stitch, yarn over, bring it through, and one more stitch, yarn over, bring it through. We have our 4 loops, and we bring our yarn through all 4, and it's a little bit loose because I'm showing you slow right now, but that's okay. And then yarn over one more time. And so we're going to do this a couple more times here. 1, so you always go in the same stitch you're in, and then the next 2 stitches. 2, 3, now we have 4 loops, yarn over, whoops, bring it through all 4 loops, yarn over, and go through the loop. This pattern is a repeat of 2 rows, so this is the first row. Put your hook in, bring your yarn through, and put your hook through the next stitch, and the next stitch, and we're almost to the end. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops, yarn over one more time, and then yarn over, go through the stitch, and the next stitch, and the next stitch, and then yarn over one more time, and then we're going to yarn over in the same stitch, and the next 2 stitches, and this is the end of my row, and I'm going to yarn over, and then instead of when I went through all 4 loops, instead of doing that one last yarn over to close this off, when you get to the very last stitch, you're going to do the yarn over and bring it through all 4 loops, but you're going to do a single crochet right in that last stitch that you ended. So yarn over and work a single crochet. See that? Now row 1 is done. Let me show you how this looks. This is row 1. And there's little clusters kind of stitches. Okay, so now we're going to turn it. And when you turn it, this row 2 is a row that you're going to repeat the rest of the pattern. It's really a lovely pattern. But it is important to make sure that you're putting your hook in the right stitches. And it is important to, I messed up, I was making an afghan. And I messed up, I got off. I always know that like this stitch here is always a little bit harder to get my hook in. And when I was off, I went to this stitch the one time and I had to pull out a couple rows because I realized I was off. So In row 2, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do a single crochet in that first stitch. And now we're going to repeat just like we did in that first row. We're going to put our hook in that first stitch, and then the next stitch, and the next stitch. And sometimes this is a stitch that's always kind of hard to get into. That's okay, just jam it in there, it'll work. Got 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, bring it through all 4, and then yarn over, pull it through one more time to finish that off. And we're going to continue on. We're going to insert our hook into that first stitch, and the next stitch, and then the next one. We have 4 loops, yarn over, pull it through, and yarn over one more time. And this is a very lovely pattern for a hat, for a washcloth, a blanket. It has lots of nice texture, and it's really easy. This is one that I just have to make sure that I'm putting my hook in the right spots and making sure that I have my 4 loops on my hook before I bring my yarn through. But it's a nice one to be watching TV with your family and not having to think too much. And this is a little bit harder one. That's okay. Go through. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and we're almost to the end. I want to show you, oopsies, to make sure that you see that end stitch. There's my 4 loops. Bring it through. So now you're going to think, well, I don't have enough stitches left. You actually do. So remember, we have 3 more loops to get on our hook. We have 1. So our first one's going to be here. Our next one's here. But then our next one, we had that single crochet up in the row before. That single crochet is right here. Right there. Okay. So as you're working this, there's 1, there's 2, and right there is that single crochet from the row before. And there's our 4. Bring it through, and remember, we don't do that yarn over, that last yarn over. Instead, we're going to single crochet. And that is the end of row 2. Let me show you how this looks. And this is row 2. And row 2 is what we're going to repeat the entire time. So again, this is how we started off. I'm going to do a chain 1 and then a single crochet in that first loop, that first space. And then go right back through there and yarn over, bring it through, yarn over in the next stitch, and then here's the hard stitch. Here we go. Yarn over, go through all 4, yarn over one more time, and I'll kind of go a little bit faster because I want to make sure that you see that end stitch again. I just want to repeat that for you one more time, just so you can see it. And once I get enough rows going, I actually don't have to hold the loops on the hook anymore. And maybe I can do it now. There we go. I think I can do it. Then I can actually just bring the hook through this way. And of course I have to unwind more yarn, but I want to get to the end there and show you. There we go. And then we'll go right down for the first loop and the second one. And the third, we got our 4 loops, yarn over, bring it through, yarn over one more time, and we just have this one, and then we have one more set. There you go, yarn over, and here's our last ones. You go on the first one, and the next one, and then here's that. See, it's a little bit easier to see once you get past that first row. Here's that single crochet, because we did the chain 1 and then that single crochet. So right there is your last stitch. I go right in there, and it gives you a very nice edging. And there's your going through the 4, and then we'll do a single crochet to finish this row off. And then here's your first 3 rows of this Trinity stitch. So I hope that you find some projects to make this with. I will be posting a pattern on a blanket I'm making, a beautiful blanket. I have to figure out what edging I'm going to do yet, but I'll be posting that pattern as well, so you'll start to have some patterns to use this with. Thank you for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe.